killed Denakasura today. They killed Denakasura. Some universe it happened today.
What happened?
Denakasura was killed.
By wheeling him around and around.
Yeah.
Today in the forest of Taliban, Lord Krishna and Balaram killed the Denakasura by wheeling him around. We all didn't grow up with that. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
This morning, we'll take a look at Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 18. Did I get it right? And because as the appearance of Pitambara reminds us, today is Gopashtami. This is the day Krishna became initiated as a full-fledged cowherder. And there's a little story there. Jiva Goswami shares it in his Gopal Champu. So I thought I would read from Gopal Champu as well. Although this is quite a substantive verse and purport. Patamai anapayanya bhaktya pakva gunashaya upayasyata madhama nirvidya nirayadata. Patamai anapayanya bhaktya pakva gunashaya upayasyata madhama nirvidya nirayadata. Patamai anapayanya bhaktya pakva gunashaya upayasyata madhama nirvidya nirayadata. Others, please.
Atamayana payaya.
Atamayana payaya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Upayasyata madhama.
Upayasyata madhama.
Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Nirvidya nirayadataha. Atamayana payaya. Bhakya pakva gunashaya. Upayasyata madhama. Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Atamayana payanya. Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Yasyata dhamma.
Upayasyata madhama.
Nirvidya nirayadata.
Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Atamayana payanya.
Atamayana payanya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Upayasyata madhama.
Upayasyata madhama.
Nirvidya nirayadata.
Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Atamayana payanya.
Atamayana payanya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Bhakya pakva gunashaya.
Upayasyata madhama.
Upayasyata madhama.
Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Nirvidya nirayadataha.
Anyone else? Word to word. Ata, therefore, mai, unto me,
Unto me.
anapayanya,
Anapayanya.
without any deviation,
Without any deviation.
bhaktya,
Bhakya.
by devotional service,
By devotional service.
pakvaguna,
Bhakya.
free from material contamination,
Free from material contamination.
ashaya,
Ashaya.
your mind,
Your mind.
upayasyata, upayasyata,
Upayasyata.
you will attain,
You will attain.
madhama,
Madhama.
my abode,
My abode.
nirvidya,
Nirvidya.
being completely detached,
being completely detached,
nirayat,
and
from material existence,
from material existence.
ataha, thus.
Thus,
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, I like that, so-called heavenly planets, as well as in hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. Responsively, please. Thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me
you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me,
and be freed from all material contamination.
and be free from all material contamination.
At that time,
At that time,
being completely unattached to material enjoyment
be completely attached to material enjoyment,
in the so-called heavenly planets,
so-called heavenly planets,
as well as in hellish planets,
as well as in hellish planets.
you will return home back to Godhead.
You will return home back to Godhead.
Srila Prabhupada's purport. By the grace of the Lord, the Prachetas were given special facilities. Although they could live millions of years to enjoy material facilities, they still would not be deviated from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Being thus fully engaged, the Prachetas would be completely freed from all material attachment. Material attachment is very strong. During one lifetime, a materialist engages in acquiring land, money, friends, society, friendship, love, and so on. He also wants to enjoy the heavenly planets after the annihilation of the body. If one is engaged in devotional service, however, he becomes unattached to all kinds of material enjoyment and suffering. In the material world, those who are elevated to the higher planetary systems are supposed to enjoy all material facilities, whereas those degraded to the lower planetary systems are supposed to live in a hellish condition. A devotee, however, is transcendental to both heavenly and hellish conditions. According to Bhagavad Gita, a devotee's position is described in this way. Mang chayo vyapicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaityam samatityatam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. A devotee is always situated on the Brahman platform. He has nothing to do with happiness or distress. When one is strongly fixed in devotional service and free from all material attachment, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature, he becomes fit to return home back to Godhead. Although by special blessing, the Prachetas would enjoy material facilities for millions of years, they would not be attached to them. Thus, at the end of their material enjoyment, they would be promoted to the spiritual world and return to Godhead. The word pakva gunashaya has special significance, for it means that by devotional service, one is able to give up the influence of the three modes of material nature. As long as one is influenced by the modes of material nature, he cannot return to Godhead. It is clearly explained that all planets in the material world, beginning from Brahmaloka down to the hellish planets, are unfit places for a devotee. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. A place where there is danger at every step is not a comfortable place. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvanal loka punaravartinojana mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Thus there's no profit, even if one is promoted to the highest planet in the material universe, Brahmaloka. However, if one is somehow or other promoted to the abode of the Lord, he never returns to the material world. No, forget it. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukhaṁ Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhaya Te Girim Yat Kripa Tamahang Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Mano Pishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Patamaya Anapayanya Bhaktya Pakva Gunashaya Upayas Yata Madhama Nirvita Niryadataha. Thereafter you will develop unalloyed devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, as well as hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. This is also an interesting, as well as in the heavenly, as well as in the hellish planets. Trying to enjoy, we're always trying to enjoy something or another. Back about 1.5 million years ago, our Godbrother Siddhaswarupananda, when he gave up his own mission, I guess you would call it, his own group, the Krishna Yoga community in the Hawaiian Islands, and surrendered himself, his disciples, and any properties that they owned to Srila Prabhupada and his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There was a publishing project that he had done that hadn't yet been printed. He'd written a little book called Sai Speaks, his name as a guru before he surrendered to Srila Prabhupada was Sai, and also known as Sai Young. Sai Speaks, pleasure is the goal. And we got, once they came back from the printers, he was already part of ISKCON. All his disciples, his former disciples, had, a few were in Honolulu, many were in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, London, and different places in India, Mumbai, Mayapur, places like that. It's probably, I think it was something like 75 or 80. He brought 75 or 80 devotees with him. But here was this book that had been paid for, and cases and cases and cases of it were delivered to the Honolulu temple. But the title was Pleasure is the Goal. Because wherever we go, the living entity is looking for some kind of pleasure, even in the hellish planets. There's the story, this was told also in the book, there's the story of Indra was cursed to be born as a pig, and he got comfortable with his sow and his little piglets and his nice sty. And when it was time for his deliverance, he was from that hellish situation. He was reluctant to go because he'd become attached. Srila Prabhupada says material attachment is very strong. So he was attached to that situation. And actually, the big body had to be slain in order to release Indra because he was just so attached. And so because material attachment is so strong, we've been stuck in this material world, which is just not our natural environment. We're spiritual entities constituted of spiritual substance. And our natural situation, our original situation, Srila Prabhupada uses that word often, which is a word I'm working on, is as eternal servants of Krishna. That's our actual nature. So when we talk about going back to Godhead, which Srila Prabhupada emphasizes in this verse, because the Lord himself has said it, that you will attain upayasyata madhama, that you will attain my abode. That's our natural situation. That means being, as Srila Prabhupada points out in his purport, completely immersed in bhakti consciousness, in our lives as eternal servants of Krishna in one way or another. And that's there's many ways to serve Krishna as there are jivas, and there are uncountable jivas. We were having a discussion last night. Nadia and Sean and Tamal Hari and I were having a discussion last night about about this this business of kind of what it means to go back to Godhead. And what it really means is to return to our actual essential position as eternal servants of Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us, Ekaleshvar Krishna ar sabhavritya, that Krishna is the supreme controller and everyone else is this eternal servant. So somehow or other we've gotten ourselves into this awkward situation of being stuck in the material world. And because material attachment is very strong, we sometimes despair of being able to actually awaken our love for Krishna. It's quite possible, though. Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, there's Pitambara reminding us of what day it is. That he says, Vita Ragapaya Krota Manmaya Mamupashrita. He says, actually, many people in the past have actually attained him by becoming, through becoming free of attachment, fear, and anger. And it's quite a wonderful purport there. And it ends with his citing Srila Rupa Goswami's verses that trace out that name the 9 different stages of bhakti, from Shraddha, from initial faith, to prema. So this is actually attainable. And Krishna tells us 3 times in the Gita itself that attaining, when that situation is attained, one never has to return to this material world. So that's a pretty good aspiration. As far as the, I was just thinking about this enjoying hellish situations. I remember once, I think it was 74, I was listening to a lecture of Srila Prabhupada's, and he was talking about our being stuck in the ocean of material existence, Bhavarnava. And he said, we think we are riding the waves in the ocean, but we are simply suffering. We will simply be crushed by those waves. And as an old ocean baby myself, longtime surfer, bodyboarder, snorkeler, even did a little scuba diving when I was a kid, but I never really got trained because we moved away from the ocean. That really hit me. And that is actually kind of part of the fun of doing something like surfing is you put yourself into a very dangerous situation, and somehow or other, sometimes you manage to escape any harm at all. I mean, it's like a big thing. If you get barreled and you get way back in the barrel, and somehow or other you're able to come out before it closes out on you and completely crushes you. And people die all the time surfing. Expert surfers die quite frequently surfing in different places. People get injured and even die. So, and I was thinking, I'm thinking this is great fun, and it's really it's a kind of a flow experience where you become really immersed in that experience, and everything else is kind of shut out. It has to be, because it's so dangerous. So when I think about this enjoying in the hellish planets, that I was also accustomed to enjoying this this kind of hellish existence, this very dangerous existence. And as far as enjoying the heavenly planets, we see, Srila Prabhupada cites this verse, Abrahma Bhuvanal Loka Punararvatinorjuna. And he says, Mamupetya Tukaunte Punarjanmana Vidyate. These are just places of constant suffering, even the heavenly planets. We see in the 11th canto, second chapter of the 11th canto, one of the Navyogendras, I still don't have them all sorted out, tells King Nimi that, in answer to one of his questions, that whatever it is we think we enjoy in this material world, it's never really going to be, it's never really satisfactory. And if we stop to think about it, we know that. And so he gives three kind of broad examples. One is the pleasure of having a romantic / sexual partner. And that's just, that's a hassle. And nowadays you've got a whole class of, at least in the US anyway, you've got a whole class of young men who don't even try because it's just so frustrating. And they unfortunately express their frustration in ways that are quite disruptive to society sometimes. And then he says, gathering wealth, gaining wealth. Srila Prabhupada talks about that here. That doesn't really satisfy us because, someone's always going to steal it. We see with this the Brahmana of Avanti, this guy had somehow or other accumulated great wealth, but he was so stingy. He was so stingy that he wouldn't even spend money on his own sense gratification. And everybody detested this guy because he was just so miserable to be around. So he started losing money one way or another, and then family members and friends started stealing his money, and all of a sudden he was left with nothing. Then he realized, okay, this didn't work out so well for me. So he actually kind of saw the light and took sannyas. That didn't end his pain, because when people would see him all dressed up like a sannyasi with his begging bowl and his danda, they were just disgusted, and they would revile him. They would call him bad names. They would spit on him. They would urinate in his begging bowl, steal his danda. I mean, just really harass him. But by that time, he had come to a position where he remained fixed in his meditation on serving the Lord. And to the extent that there's a verse expressing that Srila Prabhupada would have his new sannyas disciples recite 3 times. He would have them recite the Sanskrit 3 times and then read, and I've seen this in the Veda base, the transcripts of these initiations. I think 2 or 3 initiations. One was Sudama's, another one, I can't remember who the other 2 were now. But Srila Prabhupada had them read this, and he had them read the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, and this was before the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita was printed. But that purport had already been written, and Srila Prabhupada had them read that purport as well. So this verse, Etan sa astaya paratmanishtam madhyasitam purvatamai maharshabhi. Aham tarishyami durantapadam tamo mukundankri nishevaya. This is the Brahmin of Avanti affirming his dedication to crossing over the ocean of birth and death, as shown by the previous acharyas, by becoming attached to the devotional service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Mukunda. So then the third thing that this one of the Navayogendras says to Nimi is attaining Svarga, or the heavenly planets. And he says that's not so great either, because there's always envy, competition, everybody's jockeying for position. And then, as we hear in the Gita, when your pious credit runs out, Kshine punyamartyalokam vishanti. So there really isn't any goal worth striving for other than attaining the lotus feet of Krishna, attaining the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, because everything is ephemeral. Even if you live in Svarga for these young men were blessed with being able to live, enjoying all kinds of heavenly delights for 1,000,000 celestial years, 1,000,000 years in the heavenly planets. That's a long time. But it would happen in such a way that they would actually attain full devotional service. And we see in the Bhagavatam over and over again that, that striving for these goals is absolutely useless. That even engaging properly in executing our duties in this material world, which includes Varnashram Dharma, it's only actually helpful if it satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And otherwise, it's simply a useless waste of time. Shrama eva hi kevalam. So now, speaking of going back to Godhead and Gopashtami, let's see how much of this I can do before the hook comes. So this is, what chapter is this in Gopashtami? This is from the 12th chapter of Srila Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu. And so there's a setup for Lord Krishna's becoming a full-fledged cowherder, and then the ceremony itself. So Jiva writes, one day Yashoda came into the assembly in the morning. The wife of Abhinanda inquired from her, O mother of Krishna, where did your son Krishna go without delay so early in the morning? Yashoda smiled and spoke, oh, up till now, I've completed all the tasks, such as rubbing his body with oil, bathing him, and dressing him. Now, however, being somewhat embarrassed in front of me, he's become affectionate to his servants. And after completing those tasks, comes to me. He then honors me, Nanda, and the other elders by offering deep respects. Until he killed Agha, I would think of his return in the evening, and when he returned with the calves, I would circle water over him 3 times and drink it, according to local tradition. But now, though I'm more careful and forbid him from many things, he is beyond my control. Any moms in the room? Yeah, you know the drill. The same goes for Rohini's son. So when we're little, when we're babies and toddlers, we're very attached to mommy and daddy. But then as we get a little older, we kind of like pull away a little bit and become more attached to our friends. Same goes for Rohini's son. The women, hearing this new description, looked at her face and smiled. She again spoke, understanding that this is the quality of a person beyond infancy. In other words, he's moving out of the Kumara age. I'm happy, but he causes me great suffering. Everyone said with concern, why is that? She said, he now desires to herd the cows while not paying any attention to the rest of us, I guess. The women said, you should not worry about this. This is the nature of children born of cowherds. One cannot see absence of herding cows anywhere. This is a remarkable nature of cowherd boys and of Krishna also. The assembly of Nanda also discussed the nature of Krishna. Nanda, giving joy to the assembly, spoke to Sananda and Nandana with a gentle smile. O long-lived brothers, I can see that Krishna, who acts like a newborn child, does not behave in the same way to me as he does to you. He looks at me with slightly contracted eyes, getting a little suspicious. Like, oh, you used to always want to control me, Pita. And he speaks to you with sweet words. Son Nanda said, that is proper, since you are most worthy of respect. You're serious about giving instructions to him, but we cannot think of giving him orders, though he is of Kumara age. So uncles are gentler than dads, generally. C, though very young, Krishna offers respects to his mother and then to you as his father. Then he offers respects to each friend every day at dawn. When Upananda, Abhinanda, and the others voiced the same opinion one after another, and then remained silent in order to hear Nanda. Nanda, listening to the descriptions from the other persons, while gently smiling to reveal his bliss, spoke to Sananda and Nandana. You two, with great intent, followed Krishna and Balaram, endowed with pleasing wide eyes from the beginning of the day, begging them to follow instructions. But after 3 days, searching for them, you saw the brothers far away. What else can be said? Nandana said, what can be said about their actions now? For a long time, the two boys had increased their desire. We should not tell you to restrict the boys. Nanda said, then what should be done? Sananda said, I told them that they should herd the cows. Upananda said, well, what did they say? Sananda said, they said they had just passed 1 year of age. It is improper for them to herd the cows like the elders. Hearing them speak in this way and looking at their faces, Nanda remained silent and was astonished. Everyone began speaking. Though they act like newborn children, they show intelligence and strength beyond their years. This astonishes us, but it is not so astonishing because it has been produced by your great austerities. They have no assistance in killing demons. This can only be auspicious. So Krishna is a little precocious. He's aging, he's maturing at about 1.5 times that other boys do. So even though he's still just moving into the Poganda age, he's ready, he's raring and ready to herd the cows, go farther out, get a little more independence, have some more adventures. One day, while alone, Nanda made a proposal to his wife. The two discussed out of love for their son. Let us wait for the best time. Several days later, in the shining assembly, when they saw the surprising features of Nanda, the elder cowherds glancing at each other smiled. When Nanda asked with a smile why they were laughing, they said, it seems that Krishna has forgotten us and you also. Nanda said, please speak the truth. Everyone said, though this has happened long before, you've noticed it while herding the cows. The cows follow no other person except Krishna. Today he's in front and dispatched the cows with difficulty. Nanda said, why has this happened so suddenly? They all said, when your son shows affection for anything, it behaves in this way. Nanda said, should we hold a celebration of cow herding? They all said, when there's no alternative, one must act. In other words, we're up against it now. What you fear will not be insignificant. Even if they herd only the calves, but your austerities will torture the enemies. Therefore, you should give permission. By that permission, you will destroy all inauspiciousness. Immediately upon hearing this, Nanda gave consent in the assembly. Upananda and others, on gaining consent, became happy and inquired from the famous astrologers. The astrologers advised that the two boys should begin herding the cows on the 8th lunar day of the waxing moon in the Kartik month during Shravana constellation on Wednesday.
Yeah. We're lined up.
On hearing the auspicious moment chosen, the wise derive pleasure. Nanda and the others gave the responsibility of herding the cows to Krishna after he had surpassed the happiness of herding the calves by holding a huge festival in Braja lasting 3 days with the sound of drums. If each speaker's mouth became 10,000 and their lifespan lasted 1,000 years, they could describe only 1 day of Krishna herding cows. The description of their new job, 5, 6-year-old boys, wearing the new cowherd dress and protective herbs. Of course, Mother Yashoda is not completely out of the picture. Receiving blessings from brahmanas, being worshipped with lamps on an auspicious day, Krishna departed with the cows along with Balaram after hearing sweet songs and seeing dances to the sounds of continuous music. Going to work should be like that for everybody, shouldn't it? Shouldn't be like, oh, I owe, so off to work I go. You're getting stuck in traffic for an hour and a half. The arrangements for going to the forest were as follows: putting the priests in front with songs, music, auspicious verses, bringing the cows near and worshiping them by offering foot wash and arghya, feeding them sweet chickpeas, respecting them with obeisances and circumambulation, and then offering the same respects to the priests. Krishna, with his elder brother, remained standing in front of Nanda, who had his hands folded. Nanda offered him a jeweled stick, and Yashoda put tilak on his forehead. Oh, Balaram, this is a verse. The Champu is a combination of prose and poetry, and some of these verses, I wish I had the Sanskrit. I think to include them would have increased the volume of the books even more than they are already, but would have been fun. Oh, Balaram, remain in front of your friend Krishna. Oh, Subal, stay behind him. Oh, Dhamma and Sudama, you two should remain at his sides. All others remain around him. Instructing the children and assigning them jobs, she showered them with her tears. This is Mother Yashoda, of course. Mother Yashoda, when the boys would go out to herd the cows in the mornings, Mother Yashoda would pretty consistently bring Balaram aside. You keep an eye on that little brother of yours. Don't let him get into any trouble today. I just don't want to hear any of these tall tales you guys bring back, in the evenings at the time of Godhuli. Women who were given great wealth by Rohini met with the wife of Upananda, while the earth and heavens performed various auspicious acts. Offering respects to his mother and father, as well as to others, in the midst of great clamor and festivities, Krishna was ready. Saying, "Jihi, Jihi," he sent off the cows, but they remained in front of him and did not go. Seeing that this was unsuitable, he sent the elders to their houses and departed in front of the cows. When Krishna slowly walked in order to see the calves in front, the cows began to follow. So even though he was new on the job, Krishna understood how these things worked scientifically. Knowing that the elders wanted to follow, Krishna and Balaram discouraged them from doing so, freeing themselves from the iron chains of the elders' glances. They laughed loudly and sported with their frolicking friends who were effulgent with their new occupation as cowherds. Free at last, free at last. Stopping the cows so that they could graze, fulfilling their desires, they walked toward Govardhan. There they gathered and separated the cows by making special sounds and never used the stick to beat them. Somehow or other, one of the times I read this, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to highlight that one. There, the boys became absorbed in decorating themselves, rejoicing, and playing with Krishna and Balaram to produce a great festival. And it goes on, but I don't want it to get too late. So this is an auspicious day. According to some tellings, there's another pastime that's attributed to this day, although it's often also attributed to the 13th day of the moon rather than the 8th, and that is Krishna's sending Subal, because Radharani was being watched over by her mother-in-law Jatila. It became very difficult sometimes for them to meet. So because Subal and Radharani were physically very similar, almost identical, Krishna came up with a plan that whereby he would be able to meet Radharani. And so he said, told Subal, who was actually his most intimate buddy, he knew all of Krishna's secrets. There's there's a verse in the Ujjvala Nilamani in the Gopi Gita. No, Ujjvala Nilamani, that praises Subal for his being able to engage in service that no one else could. And so he sent Subal, came up with this plan, and he told Subal, here's the deal. You go to Radharani's home, you go to Abhimanyu's home, on the pretense of looking for a lost calf. And then, when Jatila becomes distracted by helping to look for the calf, then you go inside. You and Radharani switch clothes, and then she can come and meet me. So Subal went and told Mother Jatila, I'm looking for a lost calf, and it's very distressing. We've got to find this calf. So she went to look for the calf. He went in. He and Radharani switched clothes. She grabbed a calf to hold in front of her. And as she was leaving, she saw Jatila, and Jatila said, oh, you found him. And somehow or other, Radharani was able to escape. She was able to fool even her mother-in-law. And then when she got to Krishna looked at Subal and said, oh, didn't work? So there was some teasing going back and forth. And in many temples, I don't know if this is still going on. There might be some ISKCON law that forbids it now. But in some temples, on Gopashtami, the devotees would dress Srimati Radharani as Subal, as a Gopa. Ta-da! Which necessitates revealing her lotus feet. In San Diego, they used to raise Radharani's skirts on Radhashtami, and Bhadra Narayan would have me do the Sandhya Arti when all the devotees, when the big crowd was there, and then we'd do this thing. I'm kind of really a shy person, but I would just take the advantage of the opportunity to just be a goofball. So I'd close the curtains, and of course everybody gets, I would point to her lotus feet, and everybody would get all excited, and then I'd close the curtains, and everyone would get downcast, and I'd wait a couple of beats, and then I'd throw the curtains open again and point to her lotus feet again, and everyone would go nuts. And I do that 3 times. And I don't know what their practice is now on Radhashtami, because I haven't been there for a long time on Radhashtami. But it was a lot of fun. But I know that at Krishna Balaram Mandir, they used to do this. They used to dress Srimati Radharani as Subal, and at a couple of other places that I would visit. And isn't she charming? Ain't that the cutest cowherd boy you've ever seen? So attractive that she just blows Krishna's mind all the time. So this is a really wonderful day for remembering Krishna. I know that I always look forward to it. This is a day when I'm going to probably get on Facebook and scroll for a bit, looking for any cool pictures of Radharani and Subal Vesh. trying to catch a glimpse of Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. Sureshwara Prabhu?
No, Maharaj, what is Goshdashtami?
Oh, Goshdashtami. Goshdashtami has to do with the cowherd sheds.
Oh.
I don't remember exactly what that's, what that's about. But the Goshta are the cowherd sheds, which in Vrindavan, we see this early in Gopal Champu. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Vrindavan is Vaikuntha with forests, and all the cowherd sheds there are made of Chintamani. If we needed to build one of those cowherd sheds here, it would be the expense would be probably prohibitive. Where do you even find, you can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot, touchstone bricks or anything. So. Anything else? Kirtaneshvara Prabhu.
I heard one telling of the Gopastami story where Mother Yashoda dressed Krishna up really, like a prince, and he was very embarrassed. Yeah, I tried to find that for like 20 minutes this morning, that pastime with Indrajumna Swami, where they're, like Krishna, she dresses Krishna up like a beautiful prince, and he feels very embarrassed, and he doesn't want to go, and she's trying to push him out. And he keeps trying to hide behind her because he doesn't want his friends to see. And the friends all see Krishna dressed like a prince, and then they all start laughing at him.
Yeah, you can imagine.
And so then once they go out onto their day of herding cows, the friends all tear apart his princely clothes, and they all take a piece and they put it on themselves.
Yeah, their moms would dress their Krishna and Balaram's mom especially, but all the moms would dress the boys up as nicely as they could with jewels and stuff, and then they'd get out to the forest and they'd take off the jewels and they'd make themselves ornaments with flowers and leaves and gunja berries and stuff like that. And Mother Yashoda was always on Krishna's case about going barefoot in the forest, because as we see in the Gopi Gita, his feet are so soft, and you got rocks and thorns and weeds and stuff out there in the forest. And Mother Yashoda would say, tell him, boy, you need to wear shoes because things are rough out there in the forest. And Krishna's response was, if it's good enough for the cows, it's good enough for me. I'll wear shoes when the cows wear shoes. So therefore, all over Vrindavan, you would see Krishna's footprints, his bare footprints with all the different symbols, the elephant, goat, and the flag, and the lotus flower, and all those things.
But the cows have shoes, they have food. I don't get that. Anyway, that's what he said.
But if Krishna said it to you, you'd probably be persuaded because he's pretty charming. I mean, he talked Nanda Maharaj out of the Indra Puja. Sometimes with fallacious reasoning, But he's a 7-year-old kid, but he used fallacious reasoning, but his charm was so great that they thought, oh, okay, let's try it out and see what happens.
Whatever you say.
Oh, well, maybe we can do one for Indra and one for Govardhan. No. You've already made all the preparations. Just worship Govardhan, the cows, and the brahmanas. Everything will be cool. And it didn't make any sense, but they went with it anyway.
Oh, so you're saying that they were told that they should hurt the cows?
Krishna and Balaram insisted on herding the cows as they got to be a little mature. I remember as a boy, up to like the third grade, I called my parents mommy and daddy, and they called me Billy, and that was just normal. But then in between the third and fourth grade, we moved away from my dad's hometown. And I decided I was going to reinvent myself. I was going to grow. After all, I was going to be in upper elementary school now in a big city instead of the little town that we were from. And so I actually spent time that summer wrestling over what my name would be. And I settled on Bill. And when I noticed that my friends didn't call their parents mommy and daddy anymore, but mom and dad, I thought, okay. So, I had an ashram of boys who were like, I think they were 9, 10, and 11. Man, that is a rough trip because that's like kind of pre-adolescence. They're feeling independent. I remember what rascals we were when we were that age. My friends and I, we made a gang. So Krishna and Balaram, you know, they're like this gang. And so Krishna's thinking, okay, no more baby stuff for me. And so he's, you know, he gets embarrassed when mommy bathes him, oils him up and bathes him in the morning and dresses him. So he lets his servants do it, and he's just gradually pulling away. So he's more interested in hanging out with his friends than with mommy and daddy. And then later on, well, he's going to discover girls.
My question was going to be, in what way were they going to hurt the cows?
Herd.
Oh, I was wondering if it was herd or herd. Okay.
Oh, herding
Yeah.
the cows.
Yeah. Okay. I
So-
was wondering if it was.
Samara is the calves and Aganda is the cows.
The cows, yeah. And he entered Poganda a little early, at 5 instead of 7 or so.
And Gopasta made the dead and he goes right to the cows.
Yeah, it's official. Now it's official. He's been, you know, the tension has been there for a while, as his uncles are pointing out to his father. Listen, this has really been going on for a while. You just haven't been paying attention. And you know, now this is, because he seems to like you all more than me now. The little kid's grown up. It's time for him to take more responsibility. And for Krishna, that more responsibility means more freedom, actually, because they get to go farther out and stay out all day long. Kids.
I was wondering about a 5-year-old herding cows. When I was in kindergarten,
You see it in British to this day, little kids.
Yeah.
Big water buffalo.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Pratyaraja Srimad Bhagavatam. Gopashtami, Ki Jai Goshtastami.